Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Mr. Ian Teaches English. I'm starting my series on verbs again, so you'll see the basic verbs are already on YouTube. Check those out. Today we are talking about the past continuous, which is not a necessary verb, but still pretty useful. So get your notebooks ready. There's some examples, there's some practice, and I hope this is really helpful for you. All right, let's talk about the past continuous. Like I said a moment before, this is not a necessary tense. It's not something that you need to be able to speak English, but it is extremely common, especially in conversation when you're asking about kind of what people did the day before or any time in the past. So here we go. Now, first, let's start off with continuous tenses. Now, this is important because in English, the tenses follow a pattern. All continuous tenses, present continuous, future continuous, past perfect continuous, all continuous tenses, if it has continuous in the name, use be and use base verb plus ing. Now, because this is past continuous, we're going to use the past tense of be, which is was, were. Very good. We'll use the past tense of be before our base verb ing. Also, all continuous tenses describe something that happens at the same time as the other word in the sentence. So the other word in the name is past. So the past continuous describes an action that happens at the same time as a point in the past. All right, now let's talk about what it looks like. Here we have the form. I don't really have anything to say except check your pronunciation on the word weren't. I hear a lot of students try to create a two-syllable word out of this. It is not two syllables. It is one syllable, weren't. So be careful when you're using that one. Everything else, just pause it if you need to and take note of this or take a picture, whatever helps you remember this form. Now, the reason you are all here is the use, the past continuous use. Why do we use it? How do we use it? What's the reason we use it? So we use the past continuous to talk about an action that was in progress, that was continuing at a time in the past. Like I said, the name tells us that. It's also used if we want to show that an event took time. Any continuous tense is going to show you that an event took time. We're not going to use continuous tenses with descriptions like stative verbs or non-action verbs or verbs that happen very quickly. For example, you don't really hear people say someone was closing the door because how long does it take you to close a door? Not very long. So it depends on the nature of the verb itself. But here you'll see two diagrams to help you understand. These are both for the past continuous here. The first one, you have a continuing action with the squiggle line, and you have a past point in time, a reference using the X. So in the first diagram here, you'll see that the X, the past point in time, is interrupting a continuing event. All right. In the other one, you'll see that there are two continuing events that are happening at the same time. So we'll see examples for both of these, but these are really good ideas. Either there's a long event that is interrupted by something or by a reference point in time, or two things are happening. I feel like I'm dancing. Two things are happening at the same time, and they both take time. Let's look at some examples in detail. All right, for the first diagram, you'll see there that it is the continuing action that is interrupted by that point in time or that second action. Also, notice the squiggles don't continue, or it's optional that they continue. Sometimes the interrupting activity stops you, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you are interrupted, but you continue the action. Sometimes you're interrupted and it makes you stop. So if it continues, depends. The first one, I was washing the dishes when my mom arrived. Was washing the dishes, that was my long action, and it was interrupted when my mom arrived. Now, did you stop washing the dishes when your mom arrived? Maybe. I guess it depends on your relationship with your mom. The second one, they were watching TV at 6 p.m. Here we have the continuing action. We're watching TV at 6 p.m. interrupted that. So before 6 p.m., they were watching TV. After 6 p.m., they were watching TV. It was a continuous action. Now note, this is something that is in progress at that time. They did not start watching TV at 6 p.m. They just were watching TV at 6 p.m. It was in progress. The third one, I reversed it here. I put the interrupting action first. So you'll see the little X first. Until the end of class, the teacher was teaching. So again, the teacher was teaching. Until the end of class, that interrupted the teaching action. We just have it written backwards. And it doesn't matter in English, it's the same. Number 4, the phone was ringing when I was in the meeting. So here, the phone was ringing is interrupted by when I was in the meeting. These two things are kind of happening at the same time. And again, that's the big idea. Continuous tenses show things that happen at the same time. And the last one, during dinner, she was studying. All right, so these two things taking place at the same time in the past, dinner, but the longer action, she was studying. Now let's look at the other example here. These are two things that are happening at the same time. These two things are happening concurrently. That just means at the same time. Number 1, I was washing dishes while she was drying them. Two actions that take time happening at the same time. Number 2, they were watching TV while I was sleeping. Number 3, the teacher was teaching while I was falling asleep. Now again, these all kind of have the same definition, so I'm not giving a lot of details here. These are two events that take time that are happening at the same time. Number 4, the phone was ringing while she was talking. And number 5, a little bit different, she was studying while the dishwasher was on. Notice, number 5, I did not use a continuous tense here. I just used the simple past. Why? Because the verb be is a stative verb. We just don't use it in the continuous. Well, sometimes, but it's pretty rare. So here, I'm going to choose to use just the simple past because it's a non-action. I'm not going to use it in the continuous form. All right, this is your chance. Your time to practice. Go ahead. I gave you the base forms here after the blank. You have to read it. Consider what the answers are. We'll talk about them in just a minute. Go ahead and pause the video here. Take your time. When you're ready, hit play again, and we'll get your results. All right, let's go. Number 1, my dad was visiting his hometown when he saw his old high school friend. So here, visiting the hometown took time, and it was interrupted by C, his old friend. Two events happening at the same time. One interrupts. The interrupting event is just used in the simple past. Number 2, the players were practicing when the sun went down. All right, so here, same idea. The players were practicing. During that time, the sun went down. It disappeared. It was dark, and it interrupted that practicing time. Now notice, the players probably continued to practice after dark if there was light, but still that action happened at the same time. Number 3, he arrived when the teacher was taking attendance. So again, these two events happen at the same time. One is longer, taking attendance. The other is short, arrive. Number 4, we were watching a movie while the big kids, sorry. While the big kids were doing their homework. So here we go. In this one, you have two things that are happening at the same time. Both of those things take time, so we can use both of them in the past continuous. And you'll notice if we go back to the other slide, when things are happening at the same time, it's possible to use when or while. You see I use both. When is usually used for a short action. While is usually used for a long action, but they can be switched sometimes, and I wouldn't think too much about it as a learner. Now, why is this important? Well, it's true that it's not a necessary tense, but this is really common for talking about past activities. People will ask you, what were you doing yesterday afternoon? What were you doing last night? What were you doing at your job yesterday? Or it's possible they ask you these things in the simple past, and because you want to show that it takes time, you'll use the past continuous. For example, what did you do yesterday? Oh, I was working all afternoon while my kids were playing in the park. You're saying those two things happened at the same time, but they also took time. And this is an interesting idea in English. We really show the difference between long actions and short actions using continuous forms or those basic forms. We'll talk about that more in a different video. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I like making these videos, but it's a little strange not answering questions while I teach. So please let me know if you have any. Put those in the comments down below. I do read all of the comments, and I'm excited for your questions. So let me know if you have any. And as always, hit the subscribe button if you have not, because I come out with videos almost every day, and I think a little bit of English every day is going to help you go a long way. Until next time.